Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Pierce the Canvas podcast. As always, I am Pierce. We are here back with a big episode of AEW Dynamite. Today was the episode celebrating Chris Jericho's 30th year in wrestling. Pretty big year, 30 years in the making, and we have AEW here to celebrate that. I don't know if this would be happening if the guy was like still in WWE or whatever. So, you know it was really cool to see the recognition that he got from so many random celebrities, and yeah, I'm really excited for the future of Chris Jericho's career. So I'm just gonna take the time now to say happy 30th to Chris Jericho, and what an awesome episode of AEW. That's not the only big thing we got today, of course. We also had a TNT Championship dog collar match with Brody Lee and Cody Rhodes. That was a hell of a match. We for the actual main event, which I was kind of surprised the dog collar match wasn't. For the actual main event, we got Chris Jericho and Hager versus Luther and Serpentico, aka Chaos Project, I think is what they're called. And we also got Serena Deeb versus Big Swole, and we had TH2. Is that what Team Hybrid 2? I think it is versus FTR for the championship in a 20-minute Brush of Greatness. We also have Will Hobbs versus Brian Cage for the FTW Championship. So lots of title matches tonight. The show kicked off with that very match with Brian Cage versus Will Hobbs. Before that, the show kicked off with a bunch of stars putting over Chris Jericho. They showed a small video package. People like Best Friend, Santana and Ortiz, Sammy Guevara, Jungle Boy, a couple other people. Sammy Guevara said that the Jericho hug was his favorite moment of Jericho's career. Or I guess, I don't know if it was of Jericho's career or just his favorite moment with Jericho. Jungle Boy said that the 10-minute limit match that he had with Chris Jericho is his favorite memory. Scorpio Sky loved seeing him fall into Mimosa. And when the show started, after the little video package for Jericho, they were showing off the crowd, and we see Miro and Kip Sabian playing in an arcade machine in the crowd. They must have been doing that the entire show, because that was actually the only time that I recall having seen them. We will see them in action next week, though. And then we cut to the announce booth, and there's a 5-man announce booth, or at least just for this match. We had Taz and Ricky Starks join the regular announce team for the championship match. So Taz basically explained that this is a Renegade title. It's a big boy title, a big badass title. It's not necessarily an official AEW title per se. It's just a championship that a bunch of big badass wrestlers are just gonna fight over. I'm cool with that. I actually dig it. When the FTW championship was first shown, I was like, I don't really care, whatever. But, now that we kind of know how it's going to be used, I think that there's a lot of potential for a lot of fun matches. And, how everybody likes to say, not everybody, but all the haters, all the Cornette fans love to say, all petite wrestling. You can't say that now, not with this FTW World Championship being involved, especially in this match. These were two huge dudes. And, I think one of the reasons why they were doing this is because Will Hobbs, unfortunately he lost his main event that was supposed to happen a couple weeks ago because Lance couldn't make it due to health concerns. So I think this is a great way to kind of make it up to him. Okay, we'll give you a championship match to open the show. It's pretty awesome. So the match starts, and, as you would expect in this big boy fight, they just immediately start bashing into each other, slugging it out. A little bit into the match, I just to take a little bit of a sad turn, the announcers were just talking about Will Hobbs, and they mentioned that his brother was killed in a shooting, shielding Will Hobbs from the gunfire. So, it's just a kind of crazy, sad turn, but I thought that just had to be mentioned. That's a pretty significant stuff. So I would imagine Will Hobbs is doing a lot of what we're seeing here for his brother, who's his hero, But back to the match, Cage for the first few minutes of the match, it was definitely apparent that Cage is the better athlete between the two. You know, with the drop kicks, the enziguri, he did a standing moonsault at one point. But don't get it twisted. Like, Will Hobbs is a pretty agile guy. There's a couple times I noticed in the match when they would slam each other down, the whole entire ring would shake. It was like crazy. Will Hobbs eventually did a comeback. He landed a really cool shoulder tackle. He just, I don't know, he like flew in the air and landed a shoulder tackle. It was real cool. And landed a power slam for a near fall. And then afterward, landed a sit-out power bomb for a near fall as well. Later on, Cage lands a pump handle slam and lands an F5 for a near fall. So that was a way to bury Brock Lesnar's finisher. Cage lands a German suplex. Hobbs no-sells it, lands his own, and lands a big clothesline. Will Hobbs lands a spinebuster for a near fall. Will Hobbs at one point attempts a frog splash. Nobody's home. Cage lands a pile driver suplex for the win. And right when the match ends, Ricky Starks gets in the ring. Taz is like putting over Hobbs. He's basically like, "Yeah, Hobbs, we know, you're real impressive, but you didn't win the match. You didn't win the match tonight. We know you fought your ass off. So here's what's happening now. I'm going to give you two options. So option A, obviously you know what option A is. He wants Will Hobbs to join Team Taz. Option B is you'll get the shit kicked out of you." And so I was kind of on the edge of my seat. I was like, okay, so, we're going to get to know Will Hobbs a little. Is he like a straight babyface? Like, nah, man. Is he a heel? Like, yeah, I'm going to join. Before he was even able to answer, Darby Allin's music comes on. Out he comes with a skateboard. And Cage and Starks retreat. Tez says to Allen that he'll learn not to stick his nose into Team Taz's business anymore. So obviously this is not the end of the rivalry between Darby Allin and Team Taz. Next up, we see a bunch of celebrities congratulating Chris Jericho. First, we see a Slash, rock legend Slash. We see Dennis Miller, comedy legend. This is just smack right in the middle of these names, but this is the most significant one. We saw Hiroshi Tanahashi, okay? And this is a big deal. This isn't anything to be undermined. This is a big, big deal because, again, you know that the president of NJPW had to resign, I should say, and somebody else, I think it was the president of their United States relations, I think is who it was, who ended up taking over the company or somebody like that. So everybody's very optimistic about the potential relationship between NJPW and AEW. And this, to me, seals the deal. It's official. Like, I don't think this is reading too much into it or anything. First of all, we saw Hiroshi Tanahashi congratulating Chris Jericho for the 30th anniversary. And right behind him is a big fat NJPW logo. So it's like, yeah, this is it. It's official. In my mind, it's official that New Japan Pro Wrestling and All Elite Wrestling are in cahoots, and we're going to see a lot of cool stuff coming. And like I said, this was smack right in the middle. They didn't put Hiroshi at the end or anything. Next we saw was Ted Irvine, which is Chris Jericho's dad. And Chris Jericho's dad basically said that he loves how he's preparing the future of wrestling. He's putting over all these men and women. Says that he can't wait for what's to come. Tells his son that he loves him, and he sips up some bubbly. And the very last person we see is Bully Ray, and it's just him bubbling away. Next up, we see Lance Archer promoting next week's championship match against Jon Moxley on the anniversary show. So we have two anniversary shows. We have the 30th anniversary for Chris Jericho's career. Next week is the 1-year anniversary. So Lance says that things are going to go much different from how it did in their Texas Death Match, which this is, and it's not coincidence. This is the first time that the Texas Death Match in New Japan Pro Wrestling's Tokyo Dome show was ever acknowledged on AEW. They never once mentioned it. So now that this new guy's in charge, all of a sudden, and they're showing pictures of the match and stuff, they're showing actual, not footage, but pictures of the inside of the Tokyo Dome and everything. Yeah, so we finally acknowledged that. Lance says that Moxley's been wasting his time with the Butcher and Eddie Kingston. He's going to have no chance in hell, and Lance is going to have a damn good time. So I'm pretty excited for that, man. I absolutely love their New Japan match, the Texas Death match. We're just going to get a straight wrestling match next week, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. I love Lance. In my mind, he's a future world champion. He totally should be, on top at some point. So next up is another title match. So TH2 versus FTR for the AEW World Tag Team Championship in a 20-minute rush of greatness. So first thing that we see here is the Young Bucks are backstage staring at a TV as FTR are making their entrance. And I don't know, I got a subtle maybe I don't know, weird kind of jab at WWE, because you know how in WWE in the main roster, whenever somebody's looking at the TV, they're always on the side of the TV, looking at this. So Matt Jackson's literally he has his back turned and he's staring at the TV over his shoulder. And I think they're trying to imply that he's being smug, but still it made me laugh, just comparing that to what WWE does. How the wrestlers are always being stupid, just looking at the TV like this, and Matt Jackson took it to the extreme. He turned a whole 180 pretty much. The big thing about this is that Nick Jackson was present, so he's back from wherever the heck he was. And you know how strange it is that he's been acknowledged on the last shows, which I forgot to mention on my podcast, but it is strange that Matt was talking to Nick Jackson, who wasn't there. I don't know why they couldn't just explain why he was absent. Maybe we shouldn't know. So match begins, and FTR is immediately dealing with the quickness of Evans and Angelico. At one point in the match, FTR is carrying Angelico, and Evans takes out FTR, both guys from the top rope. This hurt his leg, so Dax Harwood takes advantage, continues injuring the leg. Dragon screw from the top rope, that looked pretty brutal, dropping him down on his bad leg. Angelico gets a hot tag, lands a double submission on FTR. Jack Evans is fighting Dax Harwood on the top rope, knocks him down, and he attempts a corkscrew dive and botches it. Now, I do actually think that this was a real botch, but it played perfectly because the match was revolving around his injured leg. Jack Evans' injured leg, so when he messed up the dive, immediately the announcers were like, "Oh, his bad leg," and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I guess." You know what though? I'm gonna say maybe it wasn't a real botch because these guys are seriously athletic. They probably just completely fooled me, but it just looked like a botch. Angelico attempts an outside dive on Cash. Cash picks him up I don't know what the hold is called, but it's the one where their backs are together and Cash locks the arms and drops the opponent. So he did that to Angelico and dropped him face first onto the apron. Evans lands a big kick on Dax. Dax returns with a big clothesline, Tiger Driver for a near fall. FTR land their superplex splash finish. So the superplex splash finish on Jack Evans for the win. And then we see the Young Bucks backstage. Nick is like, "Oh man, these guys are good." And then Matt looks at the camera and he's like, "Oh, this camera's been spying on us the whole time, huh? Oh yeah, you've been spying on us?" And they double super kick the camera guy. So great, yeah. So the cameraman's dead now. The camera cuts back to FTR, and on the Titantron we see Cash and Dax in hot dog suits with their championships around their waist. And I was like, wait, what the hell? What's Young Bucks doing? I thought it was them. But then Best Friends theme song comes on, and immediately I was like, oh, right. Yeah, they're weenies. So Trent comes out and he says, hey, you get it? You get it, you guys in hot dog suits? Because you're weenies. And then Chuck Taylor says, well, you know, it's not a joke, is that we are number one contenders for those belts. We talked to Tony and confirmed that the match will take place next week. They brawled for like 5 seconds until FTR retreated. The belts happened to still be in the ring. I guess FTR dropped them. Best friends are standing tall with the belts. Kindly hand them back to FTR. So next week we will see a World Championship as well as a World Tag Team Championship match. So awesome stuff. We see MJF next, putting over Chris Jericho for the 30 years. MJF disagrees with the whole don't meet your heroes things. He loved meeting Chris Jericho at AEW for the first time. Jericho once told MJF, you know, you've got something, keep going, never stop doing what you do, or something along the lines of that. MJF told Chris Jericho that he's proud and inspired by the 30 years. So, cool, MJF's being a cool guy. After that, we saw a bunch more celebrities, starting with Shaquille O'Neal, big TNT guy, calls Jericho a legend. Next, we see Gene Simmons wishing happy 30th to Chris Jericho, and he stuck something weird in there. He was like, yeah, Jericho's been on his hands and knees all his life, or something like that. I was like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Next, we see Don Callis, Lars Ulrich, and Diamond Dallas Page. Lars Ulrich is the drummer of Metallica, so that was real cool. Next up, we got Cody Rhodes versus Brody Lee for the TNT Championship in a dog collar match. The first dog collar match that happened in probably like as long as Chris Jericho's been a wrestler. I don't know. I will admit I've never seen one before, so this is the first time for me. So when Brody Lee's making his entrance, John Silver's there with him, as well as Anna Jay. Actually, also when Cody made his entrance, he was with Brandy Rhodes and Arn Anderson. So during Brody's entrance, John Silver has the dog collar, dragging it over to the ring. When Justin Roberts was doing his introduction, he introduced the ringside doctor, Doc Samson, so we knew it was like, oh shit, they got the doctor like right on hand, they're introducing him, so you already know it's gonna be crazy. They also introduced Greg the Hammer Valentine, who's in the crowd. Apparently he's got experience in these dog collar matches. Paul Turner introduces the championship and it goes to commercial, which I found weird at first. I was like, okay, so he showed off the title and they immediately went to commercial. I was like, is it just going to start in the middle of the match? But little did I not think, they had to equip the dog collars. So that's why they took the commercial there. So once they get back, we see they both got the dog collars around their neck and the chain in between, which is about the length of the ring. So Lee immediately is taking advantage of this chain. He just pulls it, and Cody like flies over to his side of the ring and knocks right into Silver. And then when Silver got back up, he was busted open, like gash on his head, bleeding. I was like, geez, like right off the bat. And John Silver's the first one to get busted open. I don't even remember what exactly the bump was. Like, did he land face first on the apron or something? I don't remember how he got busted open. Cody Rhodes, this was a cool spot. I really like Shane in this match. Like, it makes for really cool spots and like smart spots too. So at this one part, Cody's trying to springboard cutter. So he gets on top rope, he jumps for the cutter, and basically as soon as he jumps, Lee just pulls the chain and he just falls right down. So, you can't be trying the same stuff you usually do, obviously. At one point, like they're showing off John Silver bleeding and stuff. Brody Lee gets out a chair and he puts it down and he's like, Silver, sit down for the rest of the match. I don't know, they're like bled just a little bit of their BTE comedy into this match, just a little bit. Like they just had John Silver like sit in the chair, and then as soon as he sits down in the chair, Cody comes out of nowhere and drop kicks the hell out of him, and he like flies into the barricade. I don't know if he was trying to drop kick Lee and Lee dodged or what happened, but the camera was angled so you couldn't really see what happened there. Brody Lee piles up a bunch of chain and DDTs Cody onto the chain. This gets Cody busted open. And in my notes here, like right after I wrote, the DDT spot, I also wrote Brody Lee is telling Anna Jay to get rid of John Silver. So now thinking back, obviously they had Brody Lee communicate with Anna Jay. They cut the cameras because Cody was busy blading himself. So like I said, now he's busted open. So Brody Lee takes advantage and starts like scraping the chain on Cody's face. Cody slides between Lee's legs at one point, like literally his whole body slides right between his legs and takes the chain and whips him right in the balls. Lands a leg sweep. And yeah, Cody at this point is like bleeding a lot, man. Lee is trying to escape. Cody pulls him back and lands a tope. During the match, the announcers mentioned that Cody Rhodes actually put on 14 pounds for this match, which right when they said it, it like immediately clicked. I was like, right, yeah, he looks way leaner. Bigger arms, definitely put on some weight since he was gone. Brody Lee gets Cody Rhodes over the barricade at one point and just starts like pulling him into the barricade over and over. Eventually he pulls him so hard he just flies right over. They set up a table outside, right across from the apron. Brody Lee and Cody Rhodes are on the apron. Cody just got off the apron at one point, and Lee was still on the apron. Cody pulls Lee, and Lee flies off the apron and just lands a cutter. And they went to commercial, and during commercial, Cody Rhodes package pile drives Brody Lee through the table during the commercial in picture. I wasn't really cool with that. Like, in the moment, I was way more mad than I am now. I was like, why are you doing these key spots during commercial, man? Like, I'm not approving. So after that spot, because it was a package pile driver, this might be part of the reason why it happened during commercial, because right after the spot, Brody Lee was busted open. Maybe it happened during commercial to make it harder for us to see Brody Lee blading himself. I don't know. Cody throws Lee face down into the steel chain and starts whipping Lee with it. He takes like 2 rows of the chain, just starts beating him up and starts wrapping it around his fist and punching him in the face with the chain. He at one point, kind of awkward spot, he like throws the chain over the ring post while Lee's cornered, I guess to like choke him somehow. And then Cody went to like unwrap the chain from the ring post and was like struggling for a good like 6 seconds. But then the announcers doing their great job were like, hey man, there's no preparing for a dog collar match. They were like, when you go to wrestling school, there's not a, all right everybody, today's the dog collar match, unit or whatever. So I was like, okay, yeah, true. Brody Lee attempts to whip a chair at Arn Anderson at one point. Arn Anderson was like pissed and he got in the ring. Alex Reynolds comes out of nowhere to protect, I guess, Brody Lee from this old Arn Anderson guy. Arn Anderson spine busters. Alex Reynolds still got that spine buster down pat. Brody Lee, like something happened to Arn Anderson. He just ended up out of the ring. To be honest, I think I was writing notes because everything was going so fast I might have missed something. Arn was out of the ring. I don't know if Brody Lee like did something to him or whatever. Cody does his comeback and lands shots on Brody Lee with the chain. Cody wraps the chain around his neck, starts choking him out, lands a moonsault for a near fall. At one point, he lands across Rhodes, and Lee no-sells with a 1 count kick out. Cody tries his like pile driver finisher, the reverse pile driver finisher that he does, or whatever you want to call it. Brody Lee reverses, gets a kick, powerbomb for a near fall. Cody gets on the top rope, and Lee is fighting him, lands a superplex. Lee gets a dragon suplex, attempts a discus, lands a... Cody Rhodes then lands like a carried kind of crossroads thing. I don't even know if it was a crossroads. It looked a little bit like it. Like he did lift him, like kind of in the air, and it looks a bit like a crossroads. And then Cody wraps the chain around Lee's face, like all around his face. It's like it's in his mouth and everything. He's basically just squeezing, like trying to blow up his head with this chain. He picks him up, lands another crossroads for the win. So there you have it. Cody Rhodes is a 2-time TNT champion, the first ever 2-time champion in AEW. So that's real cool. It's real cool, although there is the argument for you could have kept Brody Lee going, and there's something I'll say about this in a second as well. After the match, Brandy Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes come out checking on Cody. Dark Order just all come out. They're just standing on the stage like, oh my god, it's gonna be a rough day at the office tonight. Tony comes out for an interview and congratulates Cody. Nothing happened after this. Like, Dark Order didn't come and try to kill everybody or anything. I think this is it. I think Cody Rhodes versus Brody Lee is over now. So who knows what's next for Brody Lee? We'll see in Dark Order. So again, Cody thanks everybody. I loved this promo. Says there's nothing like competing in front of a live crowd. Cody said when he was 15, he's always been trying to be close with the fans. And he just straight up said, he was like, people are talking that I might turn heel. He didn't say that exactly, but he said, people are talking about, oh, my hair is black now, I'm going to make a dark turn. He was like, fuck that. Or I don't know if I should swear on this thing, I don't know. But anyway, he's like, forget that stuff. Like, I'm sticking with you guys. I'm sticking with the fans. I'm not going to turn on you guys. So all that talk about a heel turn that was, all that speculation from before, I guess it's just not going to happen. Like, unless it does, but Cody pretty much acknowledged it and said, like, forget about it. He says, listen, next week's the anniversary show. I want to put this title on the line. And so who comes out? Who comes out but Orange Cassidy? And we finally see Orange Cassidy half-ass thumbs up. Cody puts up a real thumbs up, and the match will take place next week. Now, one thing that really did start to happen with me when Cody had the title and he was like defending it week after week, and I have a very good feeling I'm going to get this same feeling next week, is Cody was winning all of those matches, right? Just winning match after match, taking out contender after contender every week. We just see Cody winning. I'm trying not to use the word bearing. He wasn't necessarily bearing anybody, but nobody got to beat him except, obviously Brody Lee at the end. So it's just, I don't really want to see Cody just go through Orange Cassidy and just beat him. Like, I don't really know what exactly can come out of this. But I really don't really want to see that. And then it's like the next week, Cody just has another opponent or whatever, maybe it's in a couple weeks, and then he just goes through him and it's the same thing again. So, I trust AEW's booking, so I'm sure that they're going to do this right. We will see. I just don't want to see him winning week after week after week again, to be honest with you. So congratulations, Cody Rhodes. Next up, we see Alex Marvez with Kenny Omega talking about the tournament. Omega says that he's been waiting a year for the chance at the AEW title. Omega says that he's basically just saying, I win every tournament that comes my way or whatever. Alex Marvez reveals, Jungle Boy, Rey Fenix, and even Adam Page, they're all going to be in this tournament. Omega says that he's going to stake his claim with the AEW title by winning the AEW title. When he's number one contender, he'll face whoever's holding the belt by the end of Full Gear. Omega will be the champion he's been destined to be since day one. Now, what I think is happening, I think that the champion and the winner of the number one contenders match. So the champion at Full Gear and the winner of the number one contenders match are going to wrestle 2 matches that night. I'm pretty sure. Because I think the number one contenders fight, like the last match of the tournament, is at Full Gear. And I believe the champion is going to have just a match at Full Gear, I believe is what the plan is. And after that, the main event is going to be the number one contender versus whoever's the champion. So again, the number one contender and the champion, I believe, I will correct myself next week if I'm wrong or whenever, but I believe they will both be wrestling 2 matches that night. So that'll be interesting. I'm really curious about how this is going to go. It's going to be an awesome next few weeks until then. So, pretty good match. We got Big Swole versus Serena Deeb. Serena Deeb is now officially signed to AEW. She had her 1 match against, I think it was Hikaru Shida a few weeks back, and everybody was really impressed with her performance. So why the heck not bring her back? And not only bring her back, sign her. You know, get all the best wrestlers you can. Everybody talks crap about their women's division. I can't blame anybody for doing that. They got to rack up as much talent as they can. Albeit there were a couple, I think, awkward spots in this match, but it wasn't like the end of the world or anything. Kind of one of those spots was near the beginning. Well, first of all, they were trading holds at the beginning of the match, which was actually pretty cool. Just sequencing, like grabbing holds onto each other, real fast-paced stuff. And then came the sort of awkward spot where Swole was going for like a running move at one point. Serena reversed it with like a big clothesline, but it just looked like it landed kind of weird. I don't know if anybody else even noticed that except me, but I thought there was just something weird about that clothesline a little bit. And then she went for a dragon screw on the rope. Big Swole comes back with clotheslines and a headbutt for a near fall. And then later on in the match, there's Big Swole delivered a kick, headbutt, and a rolling elbow for the win. So that was a pretty good match for the women's tonight. Next up, we see Jon Moxley vignette. He says that next week is the 1-year anniversary of AEW, but he's not going to be celebrating. You know, Moxley doesn't get time to celebrate. Every big threat that comes his way, you know, he takes out the big threat, but then the next one just comes out of nowhere, and he has to keep fighting these crazy battles. He acknowledges, you know, one day somebody's going to get my number, somebody's going to take me out, and I may lose the title. He says it could happen next week. He says that nobody just beats Lance Archer. You got to survive him. He says he experienced it in the Tokyo Dome earlier this year. Every time he gets to hand the belt to the referee before the match, he always keeps in mind that he might not get it back. He may or may not win, but either way, Lance is going to have to kill Moxley to take his title. Or he said, like, you're going to have to take the title off my dead body or something like that. And then Moxley finishes by saying, as Lance always says, everybody dies. So it's like, the whole time Moxley was like burying himself, but okay. So again, we're going to be seeing that Lance Archer versus Jon Moxley. Other matches confirmed for next week. FTR versus Best Friends for the title. Cody Rhodes versus Orange Cassidy for the TNT title. And they confirmed we'll see Miro and Kip Sabian next week in action. So great stuff. You gotta do this for me. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't know how to use technology. He did have a webcam though, but anyway. Also, Steel Panther wished him a happy 30th, which I think is a band or something. Ultimo Dragon, Luchador Legend, and Paul Stanley, who I don't know who that is. So yeah, this match is 30 years in the making. Luther and Chris Jericho first wrestled in 1991. They were rivals back then, and so here we are, almost 30 years, you know, after that very match, and they're back together in the ring again. At the beginning of the match, Luther took Jericho out with a high big boot. Luther gets to the top rope. At one point, Inner Circle are all crowded around, and Luther dives onto Inner Circle. Luther landed a facebuster from the top rope onto Chris Jericho. Jericho went for the Judas effect. Luther reversed and landed a German suplex. Serpentico landed a diving knee drop. At one point in the match, Jericho calls for Floyd, his baseball bat, while the ref's distracted by Inner Circle. Luther happened to catch the bat, took out Jericho with the bat, hits him in the stomach. Inner Circle are trying to distract Luther, and Jericho happens to land the Judas effect for the win. And so the main event was okay. There's a couple awkward spots. There's one point where Luther and Jericho were setting up a spot. Luther was getting up on the apron, and he like slipped off the apron and had to try again. So it was okay for like the main event, but hey, like I said, it's Jericho's 30th. It had to be done. It just had to. So Jericho's about to cut a promo, thanking, he's like totally babyface promo, thanking everybody for the 30 years. As soon as he thanks everybody, whose theme song comes on but MJF's? And there he is with Wardlow, who has a gift. which is like a dude under a sheet. Um, so MJF says that he's not out to steal Jericho's spotlight. He's out because he respects Chris Jericho, and he wants to be part of the celebration. The sheet is removed to reveal, I don't know what the hell this was about, like Clownico. It was a clown called Clownico, or Lay Clown. I don't know what the hell was going on there. The clown had a gift in his hand. Jericho's about to unwrap the gift. Jericho says, let me just say one thing, that next week I'm going to be making a career-defining announcement. So MJF is just making all these announcements during Jericho's 30th. So when Jericho unwraps the gift, and it's a poster of MJF just like in his ring gear, just posing. Jericho gets in MJF's face, tells him not to disturb Jericho's night. Or actually, I think it was before that, he smashes the picture over the clown's head, and then he told MJF not to disturb, Jericho's big night. And it's all jokes. They end up laughing it off, and a whole bunch of the roster comes out, and credits roll. And the credits are all crediting Chris Jericho, like executive producer, camera operators, caterers, like everything is Chris Jericho. And they had like some theme song. It was a nice time. It was a little nice moment. Everybody's popping and, I don't know, eating cake or whatever. And that was the show. So fantastic in my opinion. Great AEW Dynamite this week. As expected with the dog collar match and everything. Next week will be great as well. The 1 year anniversary. Congratulations to AEW. They already passed the day. I think it was the 3rd or something, from when they debuted. So, man, many more years to AEW. I absolutely love Dynamite. I never want it to end. I will be with AEW until they're the number one show in wrestling. Well, as always, thank you so much for tuning in to Pierce the Canvas podcast. Pierce signing out here. Enjoy your week. We'll be back next week for the 1 year anniversary of Dynamite. Take care, everybody.